What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, Season 9, Episode 9, Shaken, Not Stirred. Let's talk about the Florida crew. So, Yara is hosting a launch party for her company, which is, I'm assuming it's bags or designer bags to carry your little dog in. So she's having this launch party. The whole entire Florida crew is invited. So Andre and Elizabeth are there, and Loren and Alexi are there as well. So Elizabeth has an agenda because she needs to confront Loren about information that came back to her that Loren was talking mad crap about her husband, Andre. The information we find out later came from Yara herself. Because remember, when Andre and Elizabeth went to Moldova, the other two couples, Loren and Alexi, Yara and Jovi, all met up for a double date, and they were just spending the whole time talking about what a horrible person Andre was. So Yara went back and told Loren, excuse me, she went back and told Elizabeth. She went back and told Elizabeth all the things that were said about her husband Andre. And I don't really remember exactly if Jovi and Yara were also saying bad things about Andre, but for sure, Loren and Alexi were. So it comes back to Elizabeth that Loren was saying these things about her husband, and Elizabeth is just looking for the right opportunity to sit down with Loren and confront her about this. So the opportunity presents itself, and she tells Loren that it came back to me that you had said that my husband was a horrible person. And I would never say anything like that about your husband. And Loren was like, well, I never said that he was a horrible person. So she knew what conversation Elizabeth was referring to. She knew what was going on. She knew that this was stemming from the double date that they had with Jovi and Yara. And so she's already put two and two together that it was either Jovi or Yara, most likely Yara, that had told Loren what was discussed at that table. So she tells Elizabeth, well, I never called Andre a horrible person. I just said he was a dick. And there's a difference. The things that he has done is horrible, like forcing his family to move to Moldova, but he's not a horrible person, but he does act like a dick. That's what I said. So when they ran the tape back, it wasn't her that called him a dick. It was actually Alexi that called him a dick, but we're splitting hairs here. It doesn't really matter. It came from that side. So Elizabeth, was like, I would never do that to you because Elizabeth considers Loren a good friend of hers. And she said that they have confided in each other about a lot of stuff. And so for Loren behind her back to say, that her husband's a horrible person or that he's a dick or whatever the hell she said, Elizabeth took serious offense to that and her feelings were hurt. So this proves, number one, it proves that no matter what, Elizabeth is going to stand by Andre, no matter what. The people that want to bring to her how, your husband is this, your husband is that, he's a liar, he treats you bad, he talks down to you, he's verbally abusive, maybe even emotionally abusive. She is not paying attention to any of that. She is going to stick by her man because what the things that Loren had said about Andre, I didn't think that these things were necessarily like horrible, horrible things. These are things that a lot of people have said about Andre, to Elizabeth, in front of their faces, behind their backs. These are things that have been said plenty of times. This is not the first time that Elizabeth has heard something negative about her husband, especially from anybody within the cast. So I didn't think that, I didn't understand why Elizabeth was, acting like so hurt, like Loren had said something that really betrayed her confidence, like Loren had revealed some really personal secrets about Elizabeth and Andre. They said what everyone has been saying directly to Andre and Elizabeth. So she was like, well, I would never say anything like that about your husband. So I don't know why you said that about mine. Um, Elizabeth, talks about how she hated how Alex had treated Loren, but she never talked about it. Loren asked her, who told you this, that I said these things? And Elizabeth says that it was Yara and Jovi. And Loren is confused because she was like, well, that night of the double date, we were all talking about Andre. And like I said, I don't remember if Jovi and Yara necessarily contributed to the conversation or if they were just like nodding their head in agreement, but not really saying anything or adding to the conversation. So I really don't remember that. So then the two women separate, they each go back to their husbands, and then they tell their husbands what happened. Alexi approaches Andre, and Elizabeth is standing right next to Andre. And so Alexi approaches Andre and tells him, yeah, my wife just came back and told me what went down between her and your wife Elizabeth. And yeah, I called you a dick because that night at my housewarming party, you acted like a dick. And so yes, I called you that, and I can call you that to your face. I have nothing to hide. Straight up, you were acting like a dick at my house. So that's when so then he further goes on to say that, but we have moved past that. We moved past all of that. And then Elizabeth steps in and says that, well, you know what? Loren has said a lot of things about you. So when Elizabeth brought that up, when she began to reveal confidential information shared between her and Loren, I kind of felt like Elizabeth was a little bit in the wrong. Okay, I don't really care for Loren. I prefer Elizabeth over Loren if I had to choose between the two. But I felt like Elizabeth was a little bit out of pocket when she brought up, well, Loren has shared with me the things that you said about her, that you talk about her weight and that you fat shame her. And Andre would never say those things about me. Well, Andre has done things that could be called equivalent to that. The way he talks to her, the way he does belittle her. Yeah, he does. And then I remember when Loren and Elizabeth were having their confrontation, I think Loren told Elizabeth, he is a dick because of how he treats you. He talks down to you, he belittles you. So when Elizabeth brought that up to Alexi and said, well, she's shared with me that you fat shame her and you talk about her body, that's when I felt like Elizabeth had gone a little bit too far. And that's where their segment ended. And Lorna was in the background, like chewing on her fingernails, looking scared as I don't know what. Like she was really worried about this confrontation. She even said that she doesn't like confrontation. She doesn't like these type of things. But Lauren, you don't like confrontation. You don't like these type of things. But you're talking about someone who is a ticking time bomb, which is Andre. So you are going to say things about Andre on camera. And of course, I don't know if Yara was in the right or in the wrong for going back to Elizabeth and telling Elizabeth what was said about her husband. I don't know if that was to move the show along. The producers encouraged her to do that, or if she took it upon herself to do that. I don't know if she was being a friend to Loren. I don't know if she was being a friend to Elizabeth by sharing that information. I really don't know about that. I haven't really processed that. But Loren, you're talking about someone who is a ticking time bomb. You see how he is, and you're talking crap about him. Of course, he's going to react, and of course, his wife is going to react. Okay, so for you to be like, oh, I just don't like confrontation, then don't be confrontational yourself. Don't be passive aggressive yourself. If you had an issue with how Andre was behaving and how he was moving, you better have the guts to tell him to his face because it's going to come right back to him. And that side, they're going to react. So she's lucky that so far, I don't know what's going to happen last week, but Loren is lucky that so far Andre has been a little bit controlled and contained. He didn't go as berserk as he could go, but Elizabeth definitely stepped up to defend her husband, which she has a right to do. She can defend her husband. I'm pretty sure nobody would expect anything less from her, no matter how much of a jerk her husband is. She did stand up and defend her man. But at the same time, like I said, when she talked about the things that Loren had shared with her about what her husband had said about her, I felt like at that point Elizabeth was going too far, because we've all seen Andre act like a jerk. We've all seen that. People have told him that. People have called him out of his name several times. That's out in the open. That's nothing secretive. It's not anything that only Loren and Elizabeth knew about. This is stuff that's been out there in the public, how he acts, the things that people have said about him. But the fat shaming thing that Loren shared with Elizabeth in confidence, she did betray Loren's trust with that. And I don't know how Loren is going to be able to deal with that. In the middle of all of this is Yara. Like I said, I don't know if Yara was right or wrong, but you know what? Let me tell you something. I never felt like, I don't think Yara is friends, really truly friends with either one of these women. Yara, to me, I feel like she thinks that she's above these people because she sees herself as, prettier, I don't know if she sees herself as richer. She sees herself as this, social media influencer. Like, she probably thinks that she's a celebrity and that she's hanging out with the common folk when it comes to Lauren and Elizabeth. So I don't think Yara really cared if anybody's feelings got hurt, if this was going to lead to a confrontation between the two women. I don't think Yara really sees Elizabeth or Loren as like a friend. So she probably was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and spread this information and go tell Elizabeth what Loren said, just to kind of keep things, exciting and keep things interesting. But at the end of the day, I could care less what they do to each other. Moving on to Kara and Guillermo. So they're trying to get their relationship back on track, right? So Guillermo took his mother's advice when his mother told him, take your wife out on a romantic date. So that's what he's doing. He planned this little getaway just for him and Kara. And Kara is already back from Italy from recording her song. Guillermo shows up at the house that he used to live in, and he has to ring the doorbell to the house that he used to live in. And I wonder how he felt about that. This used to be his home, but now he has to ring the doorbell. So she comes out and they're dressed in similar colors, right? And she mentioned that. She was like, oh my God, we're color coordinated. He was blown away by how good she looked. He even commented that to us. He was like, wow, she was looking really pretty. And she was. Kara was looking really pretty. Kara is a pretty girl, like, naturally. And the fact that she has a body to match, and she's an attractive woman, but he was just really blown away by how beautiful his wife looked. So they're in the car and they're on their way to their destination. Kara's driving and they're being very flirty with one another in the car. Then he turns around and asks her, did you miss me? And why did he go and say that, right? Because then it just opened up the floodgates for her. She got really emotional. She started to cry. And she says that she can't really talk about that right now. I guess things are a little bit too raw when it comes to how she feels about her husband and whatever. It was better when they kept it light and flirty. But when he kind of got deep and was like, did you miss me? And she started crying. And I was like, girl, just say yes. Just say yes, you missed your damn husband. So she says it is really weighing on her mind, knowing that he thinks she cheated. I don't know what to say about that. I don't have the deets on that. So I don't know. So they arrive at their destination. They go check out their room, and he opens up a bottle of champagne. You can tell the tension is very thick between them. And it's not necessarily negative tension, it's more like sexual tension between them. They're trying to keep it light and flirty. She's giggling. But he has this look in his eye, like he could probably just devour her. I mean, he had this look of lust in his eyes every time he looked at her. And so definitely he is really trying to get things on and popping for the weekend. But from the sneak peek that they gave us for next week's episode, it seems like Kara needs to get some things cleared up regarding whether he cheated on her, or, does he still think she cheated on him? So that is still weighing heavily on her. But at this particular moment, from what we saw tonight, Guillermo was looking at his wife like, damn, I missed you. I don't know if you missed me, but I missed the hell out of you. So we'll go from there next week and see how that turns out. Darcey and Georgi. Nothing much happened with Darcey and Georgi. So their first morning when they wake up in Bulgaria, they're in bed together, and Georgi tells Darcey that, yeah, I really didn't appreciate you unloading so much heavy stuff about our marriage to my mom. My parents haven't seen me in 13 years, and my plan is to keep this trip on a really happy note, because, when he goes back to America, who knows when he's going to see his parents again. So he's like, my plan was to keep this fun, to keep things happy, and for them to get to know you better. And I just wanted to keep things on a positive note, but then you just unload on my mom all of our marital issues, and I wasn't prepared for that. And my parents, they're going through they're dealing with other things, and that we haven't seen. Why, Darcey? Just why? Why would you do that? And Darcey says, well, at that moment, I felt very connected to your mother, and I wanted to take advantage of the moment. And I wanted to let her know what we were going through because I really needed her advice. Darcey, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct in thinking that, what better person to talk to about my issues with Georgi than his mom. But that just wasn't the time and the place. Okay, maybe after a while, after you've gotten to know her a little bit better, and I understand that the trip is very limited, y'all are very short on time, then but you have your whole entire lives to get to know each other if the marriage lasts that long. You have your whole entire life to get to know each other. There's going to be plenty of time where you can FaceTime, you can text, you can email, you can write letters, you can call her on the phone and start unloading whatever you're going through with her son. But at this particular moment, this is the first time of you meeting this woman. Georgie, it was really important for Georgie for you to make a good first impression. But then you turn around and you talk about, oh, we're going through this and we're going through that, and I'm so unhappy. And it's like, what parent wants to hear that their son that they haven't seen in 13 years is struggling with his marriage, like right off the bat, like that? And really, it wasn't even her place to talk about it with his mother. You want to talk about this with your mom? Go ahead. But this is his mom, and he's in control with what he wants his mom to know, how much information he wants to give to his mom about his marriage. That's his business between him and his mom. And you completely overstepped your boundary with that. And she didn't get it. She absolutely did not understand, or she acted like she didn't understand. Either she's too dumb to understand, or she understood but didn't want to take accountability. Because she was like, well, I just felt like, I just wanted to talk about it. And, we were just trying to connect. Darcey, are you listening to your husband? Are you listening to him? You should just apologize. You just say, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. This wasn't the time and the place. We're trying to have a good time. She's trying to get to know me. I'm trying to get to know her. You really want me to make a good impression on your parents. You're absolutely right, Georgie. I shouldn't have brought it up. That's what I feel like she should have said. Okay. Yes, you have marital issues. Yes, y'all are struggling. At some point in the future, you can definitely confide in his mother, but at this particular time, it just was really wasn't the time of the place, because he did say to her, now my parents are going to be worried about me, and I don't want them to worry about me. Moving on from that. So later on in the day, the plan was for them to go boar hunting or boar tracking. And she comes out, it's going to be her, Georgie, and his dad. They're going to go deep in the forest of Bulgaria to look for these boars. And she comes out dressed as if she's going to go shopping. She's completely not dressed appropriately for a hike through the damn woods looking for wild boars. But whatever, she's always trying to make a fashion statement because the camera's always on her, so she has to do what she has to do. Whatever. She looked absolutely ridiculous. The father was like, "Is she even dressed warm enough?" And she was like, "Yeah, look at my coat. My coat is even made out of boar hair. I don't know what it was." Darcey, no, ma'am. You looked ridiculous. Trekking through the woods, dressed the way you were with your over the shoulder fanny pack and your hat, and you looked ridiculous. Moving on to Brandon and Julia. Okay, so Brandon and Julia, remember the last time that we saw them, Brandon and Julia were at odds. Okay. Julia was really upset that his mom had done this surprise welcome home party for her parents when they came back home from Washington, D.C., because she felt like, once again, the mother-in-law overstepped her boundaries by coming into her home without her permission, setting it all up for this party, and expecting everybody to party all night long after coming back from this long trip. So Brandon ended up leaving with his parents. And I'm glad that her parents saw that that was not the right thing for him to do, because he's a grown man. Okay, you're a grown man, you're a husband, you're trying to be a father. When you have issues with your wife and your parents are involved, you're not supposed to be chasing your mother's apron strings to go find comfort in your mother's arms. You're supposed to stay with your wife and figure out the solution to y'all's problem, not running after your parents or going off with your parents, your mommy and daddy, for them to help you make you feel better. So her parents were like, yeah, he shouldn't have left with his parents the night before. Okay, fine. So from there on, they have a doctor's appointment to meet with their fertility specialist. So the fertility specialist says that we found out what the problem is. So she has some scar tissue on her uterus, and they found a polyp. And the doctor says, once we put you under general anesthesia, we're going to perform surgery and we're going to try to remove the scar tissue and the polyp. And that should increase your chances of becoming pregnant. Julia's like, oh my God, I've never been under general anesthesia. So she's scared out of her mind about going under. And so she tells Brandon, I'm not even sure that I really want kids. And so Brandon was like, this is what I was afraid of, that you keep on talking about how you're not ready to go through these procedures, but it's not about the procedures. It's about your fear or your disinterest in having children. whatever, because we know in real time Julia is pregnant. Okay, so she got the surgery, I'm assuming, or she got pregnant naturally. I don't know. Maybe she got the surgery. Whatever the situation is, the girl is pregnant because TLC, or is it Sharp Entertainment? I don't know. Whatever production company that is controlling the show, they don't do a very good job in telling their cast members to not reveal certain information online, because we're not interested in the back and forth of are they or are they not going to have children. Is she or is she not going to have the surgery? Does she or does she not want children? We're not going to go through that back and forth because we already know that she's pregnant. She's confirmed it with People Magazine. She did an entire maternity photo shoot with them, and it's all over online. And all kind of like well-respected publications have confirmed that Julia she's not just pregnant; she is very, very pregnant. So we know that she ended up getting pregnant. So, like, what are we doing here? What are we going to be doing with Brandon and Julia for the rest of the season? What are we going to do with them? I don't know. Tiger Lily and Adnan. So Tiger Lily had the baby, and watching Tiger Lily give birth gave Adnan like a brand new appreciation for Tiger Lily. But trust and believe it's going to be short lived. As soon as they get back home, he's going to be right back to his shenanigans. But for this particular moment in time, this very brief moment in time, he saw his wife in a completely new light. The fact that she was able to, she had a cesarean, right? The fact that she went through this operation in order for his son to come into the world, he had like a new love and a new appreciation for Tiger Lily. And when they bring the baby in, Adnan prays over his baby, and I thought it was really beautiful. I loved the sound of his language and how he was praying over his son. I thought that moment was very intimate. I thought it was a very, very beautiful moment. Tiger Lily also appreciates how Adnan was praying over their son, but she says that that path, she's just not sure if that path, the Muslim path, is for her. And in this moment, then they show him, the nurse shows him how to change a diaper. That was really cute. This particular segment with Tiger Lily and Adnan, I enjoyed it because Adnan surprisingly was very likable in this moment. He had a lot of love and appreciation for his wife. He was head over heels in love with his son. The way that he was praying over his son also I thought was very touching. So I enjoyed this moment, but I know that this is going to be short lived. Moving on to Jasmine, which I really truly don't care about. Um, Matt wants to have a romantic weekend with Jasmine because remember last week he confessed his love for her. Him confessing his love for her last week when they were in the gym working out was ludicrous to me, because that was not the moment when he realized he loved Jasmine. And that was not the moment when this is the first that she's ever heard of his feelings towards her. Jasmine and Matt have been in a relationship probably since they first met or soon after. Okay, whatever they got going on between each other has been there for a very long time. It is not new. It wasn't just discovered. They've already confirmed with one another early on that they liked each other, that they were attracted to each other, that they wanted to be together. But she can't divorce Gino because she's in the middle of becoming a US citizen. She doesn't want to cheat on Gino because, she is well known, and she might get caught up, and it's going to come out that she's his cheating wife, which might also affect her immigration because Gina would be pissed off and send her right back to Panama. So she tried to do this in the open through this open marriage fiasco. But him trying to confess his love to her and acting like, this is so new to us. It's not new. Y'all have been loving each other. Y'all have been in this relationship for a while. Moving on from that. So he wants to plan this romantic weekend with her. He's got this horse-drawn carriage. And in the carriage, he's talking to her about how much he loves her and whatnot. All she wants to do is talk about Gino, acting as if she's so brokenhearted about what's going on with Gino. She's not brokenhearted with what's going on with Gino. She doesn't want nothing to do with Gino. She is happy to be with Matt, but she has to put on the act of, oh, my marriage is over. What am I going to do? So that she appears to be the victim, and that it was Gino that ended the marriage, or that it was Gino that broke them up and not her. Because she tried to fix it by having an open marriage, right? She's trying to do all she could by having an open marriage so she can stay with Gino and still be satisfied in other ways with Matt. But anyway, so she's pretending like she's, oh, Gino doesn't want me, and who cares? Whatever. She had a baby with Matt. We know how that story ended. So this is also just like with Julie and Brandon. This is also difficult to watch because we know what ended up happening. A baby came out of this, and she ended up staying with Matt. That's it. That's all. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later.